Find your seat, get comfortable. Comfortable and alert.
Battery 100%.
As Gerald was saying, we we had a discussion last week about transformation. And as is customary, we'll be focusing in the meditation on that process, using the meditation to explore what transformation is and how we can most gracefully embrace transformation. And as most of you are aware, there's a lot happening in the world. A lot that suggests some transformational process or processes are in the making. And so our question is, how do we deal with that? How do we move gracefully in this time of awkwardness? So, let's see what we find. Okay, so if you want to close your eyes. And once you've closed your eyes, you can just check out your position of your spine. We want the spine to be aligned, that is to say, erect and a little bit of a curve in the forward in the lower back, a little bit of a curve back below the neck. So these are the anatomical peculiarities of the spine. We say the spine is straight, but it's not really straight. I mean, it shouldn't be really straight. It should have these natural curvatures that allow our body to feel erect and aligned. So you can always experiment a bit when you sit. You know, what if I tilt the top of my pelvis forward just a tad? What if I lift the rib cage just a tiny bit? What if I let the back part of the top of my head point up toward the ceiling? In other words, these are the common lapses that people experience, that those things aren't happening. When they do happen, when they are in place, we're likely to feel most alert and relaxed. So just exploring that a moment. And now begin to turn your attention to the breath. Just being aware of the breath. Be aware of the rate and rhythm of the breath. Be aware of where your body expands when you inhale and where your body contracts when you exhale. Just bring that into your awareness. Then be aware of what happens up the spine as you inhale, the activation of energy channels when we bring oxygen into the tissues. Everything perks up. So notice that aliveness, that vitality moving up the spine when you inhale. And notice how that moves from the spine out into your torso, out into your limbs, reverberating outward as you inhale. Bringing that breath of life to all your tissues. Becoming aware of what's happening inside of us, inside your body, inside your inner field of awareness. In your mind, in your inner world. You may not have noticed any of that recently, or maybe you have, but often we're busy and don't monitor, don't check in with what's happening inside. But an important part of meditation is doing just that, bringing awareness of our inner self, inner space, inner feelings. If that gets vague or you get lost, come back to the breath. And once you've done that inventory of the inner state of your being, I'm going to explore a little bit the prospect of transformation. So, what is transformation? One of the basic aspects of transformation is that things change. The things that we're used to and accustomed to shift. The unexpected begins to occur. So just imagine yourself getting up in the morning and what's usually your routine isn't possible. Maybe the power is off, or maybe the building is shut down, or maybe the water is not running. And you feel disoriented. You feel disturbed. How can I do my morning routine? And then let's imagine that you're up for a little while and you discover that, well, these changes could be going on for weeks. And then what do you feel when that dawns, that realization dawns upon you that the usual is no longer available? Just imagining that, notice what happens feeling wise in your body, in your belly, in your heart, in your mind. Maybe you react with anger. Maybe you react with fear. Maybe you react with frustration or disappointment or sadness. Everybody's a little different. But notice what your reaction is. And then you find out that you've been laid off from your job. And your cell phone doesn't work. So noticing the feelings, the anxiety, the disorientation. And then let that go. None of that is true right now. So breathe. And now follow the breath up the spine. On inhalation to the crown of the head. And then back down from the crown of the head on exhalation to the tailbone. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Now we're going to add the sounds that we've used before. The mantra. So on inhalation, hum on exhalation. So imagine the sound so as you inhale upward. And hum as you exhale back down to the lower tip of the spine. Following up on inhalation with so. Exhaling back down with hum. Allowing the in-breath to carry you upward toward connection with the universal, with the oneness, with the unitary consciousness. Allowing the outward breath, the exhalation, to carry you down into rootedness on the surface of the earth. Inhaling up, connecting upwards. Exhale down, connecting with the earth and your roots in the earth, your rootedness in the earth with hum. So when you inhale, you can imagine, I am that. I am the oneness. I am the ocean. Not just a wave on the ocean, but I am the ocean. And when you exhale down, just notice, I am part of nature. I am part of the air and the sunshine and the plants growing in the ground. It's all part of who I am. I am that too. And allow yourself to enjoy the serenity of that connection above and connection below. The joy of those 2 points. My anchor and my serenity is above, and it's below. In between those 2 points, that point up way above and that point way down below, is the space in which I live my life. And is the space in which transformation happens. But all the losses, all the upsets, all the changes, all the anxiety is there in the middle. But I am not that middle. I am that connection above, and I'm that connection below. So, how does the prospect of transformation and change affect you when you're anchored above and when you're anchored below? So just focusing on those connections above and below, keeping your attention on the breath, coming back to the breath if you lose awareness of the breath, coming back to the sounds, the so and the hum. If your mind wanders, come back to those points, back to the breath, back to the mantra. Inhaling so, exhaling hum. Once you've established that breath, that connection, that serenity, you might wish to visualize again, getting up in the morning, everything's changed, the lights don't work, the water's not on, the cell phone isn't there. The word is big changes have happened, and it's not clear how long that will last. So as you visualize all that, notice what happens with the connection above and the connection below and sound. And if you need to reestablish them, come back. Come back to the breath. Come back to soul. Come back to hum. Just an experiment. Coming back to serenity when anxiety distracts you. Now, in the next exhalation, you can let your attention drift down to the heart center between the upper point and the lower point. The center, the heart center. Where so much of the feelings around transformation and change occur. People say, oh, that I lost that and it broke my heart. Or it was heartrending, the end of the era, whatever. But coming back to the heart, remembering that the heart connects upward and the heart connects downward. And the heart that's connected to soul upward and the heart that's connected to hum downward is a peaceful heart, a tranquil heart, a contented heart. the heart. From the heart, the right arm extends out, the left arm extends out to the circle of connections, and friends and family and interactions and life in the world. So you can begin to become aware of what's in your space, to your right, to your left, and the extensions of that space out into buildings and streets and friends and neighbors and family, all those connections that you reach out to. And on this plane where change is rampant, remember the connection upward to oneness. Remember the connection downward to your integration in nature. And let those connections bring you peace and tranquility and serenity in your times of change. So moving your fingers a bit, your toes a bit, your head a bit. When you're ready, you can raise your palms to cover your eyes. Opening your eyes into your palms, let them float down to your lap. And when you're ready, you can look around and unfold your legs or change your posture, give your body a little bit of tender attention. Mm. Mm.
Battery 100%.
And if you would like to comment about your experience or share about your experience or ask a question or speak, please feel free to do that. Just unmute yourself first and then say your name and say what you'd like to say.
I have a question. Maybe not.
Yes.
Okay, good. So my question is, I guess there are two schools of thought, whether to sit in erect posture and be still, or allow my body to move, because I tend to like, do a lot of this.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
Go ahead.
yes, there are two schools of thought. Um, but, and there's something called meditation in action, like carrying the meditative state into your actions in the world, which is sort of what we're talking about tonight in the meditation. But first, you should establish stillness and quiet inside, and then carry that out into the world with you. That's the order of how it seems to work best. That's what the teachers tell us.
So when I'm moving and I can't seem to stop, what is that?
Restlessness.
Okay.
Restlessness is usually avoiding something that wants to come up, but we don't want to deal with it. If we sit and become quiet and still, and if we are anchored above and below, so we're not easily disturbed, then we're able to see with compassion and serenity what comes up from our inner space that we've not dealt with yet in this lifetime. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm just not quite sure. It doesn't feel like it's possible for me to stay still some points, but I'll
Yeah.
try harder.
Well, I understand. That's why we do the practice. So the practice is the mind wanders, bring it back. The mind wanders, bring it back. The mind wanders, bring it back. Eventually, it begins to stay put. And that's when you can have stillness and tranquility and peace. But that's a process. It doesn't just happen immediately because you have the habit of moving, keep moving to avoid. But coming home is being still and being present. And we need to come home. And then we have the peace that we can carry with us out into the world and be moving, but not be moving as a form of restlessness.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. That's a great question.
Swami Ravi.
Yes.
Thank you. This is Jody. Thank you very much for that experience.
Hello, Jody.
At the beginning,
Well, I could see your hands moving, but I couldn't hear you speaking. Can you start over again? And let's see if we can.
I apologize. I think I hit mute again.
Oh.
I just wanted to say thank you for that experience. The first time with the scenario, I had a lot of anxiety come up. But the second time when you said, oh, and you wake up without water and electricity and your cell phone, I was like, oh, how delightful. But I wanted to ask if maybe you can say something about play. So in the last chapter in Kali Rising, you talk about how play is a trigger for our true power, which is creation. And with all of the transformation and the stresses and anxiety that people are feeling, it seems like play is going away a little bit. And I also feel like our definition of play is very narrow in our society, that people see play that it needs to be like upbeat and like very playful. But I'm feeling like play has a much broader meaning in the way that you use it in Kali Rising when you're talking about how it leads us to our true power.
Thank you. Yes, that's a good question. Because play, as we talk about it in Tantra, is the dance of spanda. It's the experimentation that is the essence of life. Everything is an experiment. That's the true play. But just as I was saying to Colby, if you are restless and your play is simply a way of distracting yourself from dealing with what's inside, then it's not actually very playful. It's more a defense mechanism, psychologically speaking, a way of trying to keep things suppressed. And so this is why meditation is so valuable, because when we meditate and when we allow that those things that are undealt with, that are suppressed, to come forward and look at them dispassionately and let them float past, and do that repeatedly, then they disappear. And then we don't have to do frantic things to avoid what's inside. Then we can actually, from a place of tranquility and peacefulness, we can do experiments, and we can be creative, and we can play, and we can allow spanda to express, and spanda can express in delightful and wonderful ways that are really what we're here to express and what we're here to do and contribute. And that's joyful. But, we have to do the preparation. We have to do the practice. We have to deal with the undealt with things inside of us. And then we can handle transformation. Is a joy, and transformation is a delight. It's the appearance of the unexpected. It's the discovery of what's coming and what's new. It's not like the tragedy of losing everything that I have. Because it's just two perspectives on the same event. Oh, I'm losing everything I have. Oh my God, something totally new and delightful is appearing, and life is now a joy. So, does that help? Good. Thank you for that question. Yes, yes. Anybody else? Who else would like to chip in and chime in, offer some observations, or share your curiosity?
Hi, this is Karen.
Yes. Sure.
So in the beginning, when you first gave the first scenario, I was like all about figuring out what I'm going to do, right?
Oops,
How?
we lost you too.
Oh, am I?
Can
No?
you start over?
Yeah. How's that? Can you hear me?
Yes, now we
Okay.
can.
So when you gave the first scenario, I immediately went into, oh, I need to figure out how to get water, how to get food, kind of in survival, like need to figure it out, and just noticing that's a. And then the second time, like Jody said, there was something so much different, but I just connected with this whole thing of experiment and play, I guess, that the second time of being all connected and being in the center, the first thing that came to me was kind of a curiosity of, oh, I wonder what might come up next. If I just sit here, if I just am with this, what might happen next? And
Right.
what you
Right.
said about play and about experiments, I think it finally makes sense for the first time in a really long
Great.
time.
Great, great. No, it feels elusive at first, but then actually when we kind of get hold of it, it's like, well, of course, and that's great. Yeah, it we can. I mean, life can all be a joy, and the unexpected can be like a surprise, a delightful surprise instead of like, oh my God, what's going to happen now? So it's all in how we see it and how we anchor ourselves internally to be able to see things with serenity and with delight and with curiosity and playfully.
I
Yeah.
think a big component of that for me was the I am that. So as long as I am part of all
Yes.
that is,
I am that oneness, but and
yeah,
I'm also that nature.
yeah. And so it's like, well, if I don't have my cell phone, or if everything, I'm like a bird or like a tree, or like it's just ongoing. Nothing's an emergency or a crisis.
Right. Right. Yes, yes, yes. Good. Wonderful. So are we done?
Someone else?
So next week we will be coming to you from the studios of Porto Angel. We will be trying to do this from Mexico, and we hope that that's going to work. It should work. And you will get little glimpses of the Pacific Ocean on your screen.
It's an experiment.
Yeah, it's an experiment. And we hope that it will go well, and you will get a sense of just a taste of the tropics to brighten your January. So tune in. Exactly what this will be, we don't know yet, but it will be tropical. So we will see you next week. And anything else you want to say? So
just unmute yourself and say goodnight.
Yeah, just unmute yourself and say goodbye and wish us bon voyage and all that.
Bon voyage.
Safe travels.
Safe travels.
Happy journeying. Thank you.
Thank you for the beautiful meditation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. Safe travels.
So have a great week.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right.